Everyone knows that one guy, the guy that actually buys watches to be seen, not to actually buy the watches for what they really are. The lack of taste is very obvious. Those watches scream, please notice me, and that's an extension of the people wearing them. The attitude is very, very unpleasant. The lack of knowledge, the lack of presence into the market. All they want is, here's my money, I want to pay the least possible to get what I want, and I want to get the best possible out there just to show that I have that money. It's the wrong way of collecting watches. For the past 2 years, I've been working on this channel to develop your knowledge, to develop your curiosity and everything that goes around the watch industry. Okay, it's not all about the clout, it's not all about being a douchebag in the industry, and people that normally follow me, they know all about that. A lot of people started collecting watches because everyone tells them it's an investment. We all know that watches are not an investment right now. This whole thing is not about taste anymore. If you're going in New York, if you're going even in the most hyped up restaurants, even in Montreal, or in clubs, you're gonna see people wearing the same watches over and over and over again. So this creates a uniformity in the market where we see the same 10 or 20 watches being worn by the majority of the people collecting watches. And for a lot of people who really like watches, who really would like to buy those watches, they're getting away from them. And this is because of the image that those people are projecting while wearing those watches, the cars, their clothing, and the people surrounding them, and everything else in their life. It's all about being loud. And this is the wrong way of seeing watches. It was never like that 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Horology is not about showing off. It's about knowledge, it's about depth, it's about learning every single day something that you didn't know the day before. And that's what makes this whole industry very, very, very fun to work with. It's because you are exposed to new, different things every single day. And this is what creates a lot of diversity in the market. That's what creates a lot of curiosity in the market as well. Many people that are commenting on my channel that the new watches are the best and there's nothing else, they're always running after the next new model. They're totally ignoring the history. They're totally ignoring everything that was there before. They're just looking for the new shiny object that they can show off to the next person, which is the wrong way of doing it. You have nothing to prove to anyone, especially with a watch, especially right now where the economy is doing worse and worse, and people just want to bang you on the head to steal your watch or take it off your wrist. You're projecting the wrong image. I'm going to give you multiple examples of watches that are in the market right now that are just too much. Obviously, the most common watch that people see is the Royal Oak Offshore or the Royal Oak in the classic models. A lot of the new ones are extremely shiny. The bracelet is amazing. They're really well made. But for now, if you're looking at the Royal Oak, the Nautiluses and Pateks, I'm going to put them all together in the same basket because of the integrated bracelet, because of what they represent versus what they used to represent maybe 10 years ago. In the past 10 years, a lot of rappers, a lot of people of huge influence in the market, a lot of people in the fashion industry, in arts, in movies have been showing up more and more with those big boy watches. Most of those watches are worth well over $50,000, $100,000 or even more. They are right now almost part of that really elite type of industry. Everyone dreams of getting those watches in particular just because they are fashionable. They're being displayed as the ultimate recognition or the ultimate luxury, okay? A lot of people are just dreaming of that next big purchase. I will tell you, the reality is that most probably only a few people can, first of all, afford them. And second of all, even if you can afford them, you can just wear them privately. You're gonna see Nico Leonard, for example, making videos about actors like DiCaprio, about a lot of people of great influence, and he's gonna show off very particular pictures of them wearing watches publicly, but a lot of them you have to really dig for them. So even the richest people out there don't really want to be known for wearing those watches or having those watches in their collection. And this is what ultimate luxury is about. The next brand that is utterly disgusting, okay, in terms of looks and has been overhyped for so many years is Richard Mille. Have nothing against the brand. I just don't like the attitude of people wearing them, and I just don't like the fact that everyone is like Richard Mille, Richard Mille, Richard Mille. I've owned a few, I've seen them. They're nothing special for the $100,000, $200,000 watches that they are, okay? That's what people are ready to pay for them. And I just find them really not that impressive. There's nothing that crazy about them in terms of looks. It's all about the hype. The next type of flex or douchebag flex is all the two-tone watches, okay? That is the ultimate douchebag flex, I think, in the market right now. Just because a lot of people want to show that they own a Rolex. And a lot of them will go for the two-tone watches. It's their first watch and they want to spend that $10,000 or $20,000 to begin with. I find that it's so bad because you're basically wearing a piece of jewelry that doesn't suit you whatsoever. I've seen many people that are in so many different industries and yet they want to showcase that jewelry piece that a two-tone Rolex is, especially today more than the vintage ones. The vintage ones have a way of actually toning down because they're a bit worn, they have little scratches, they're not as perfect as today in terms of machining, so it's not as shiny. You remember that time where you'd see people on the street maybe 10, 15 years ago, and the man was maybe in his 60s or his 70s and he would wear day date. And you could tell the guy had that day date for maybe 20 or 30 years on the wrist. And it was most probably his only watch. Today, the image has become of changing that Rolex multiple times in a week, showing off how many Rolexes you have. You're basically buying the hype. You're basically buying what the dealers are telling you to buy next. And it's fine, but be curious, okay? You're hitting that wall. I just met two people today. They bought quite a few watches that are all brand new from 80s, and they're tired of it, okay? Because they're being proposed the same watch in different shades every single month. And although they have the money, they're realizing that it's becoming bullshit, okay? And this is what it is. You have to actually step out of your boundaries, be just a bit curious, and you're gonna discover a whole new world that is right there, okay? I'm part of it, and many other dealers in the world are part of it as well. That curiosity, the fact that 10 years ago, I was dreaming of having vintage pieces, Universal Geneves, anything from Omega pre-60s, and the Speedmasters and the Seamasters, you know, the early stuff, the Railmaster. If we're looking at, for example, Tissot made amazing watches in the 30s and the 40s. You have huge history with any car, with many different brands out there that you're not going to get from brand new watches. And if you're not even curious and you're only looking at TikToks, you're going to be very limited in your choices. That curiosity is showing off on your wrist and is obviously showing off in your taste and the way you're being perceived by others as well, because of, again, the attitude and everything that goes with it. The next trend that's really out of fashion and makes you a huge douchebag right now is the full diamond watches, buzz down, call it whatever the hell you want. It is terrible. Most of the time, people are gonna take fake watches or overall real watches but in terrible condition. They're gonna dig holes in the whole watch, then add diamonds to it and call it a day and say, hey, look at how badass I am because I'm wearing a full diamond watch. There's nothing worse than actually ruining a watch and adding diamonds. It is cringe. It is screaming insecurity from your part, and honestly, it's not something that you'll enjoy on the long term. People who are going to be your real friends are going to tell you in your face that it's really not so good looking on you, and people who really don't like you are going to talk behind your back and, you know, a lot of hate that you don't really want. It is maybe time to actually change your collection or do a bit more research, and you'll most probably like something that suits you better and even suits you in a different way, more low-key, Let's talk about something that I've seen on one of the Mike Nouveau's videos, and it was that kid that was wearing an AP tourbillon with the tourbillon at 11 o'clock. That watch is gorgeous. Used to be worth $10,000-$15,000 US. Now it kind of tripled in value. It's around 35 to 45,000, depending on box, papers, condition, and so on and so forth. That's a low-key watch. That's an ultimate flex. You have a tourbillon movement. You have a gold watch. It's an AP. Yet not many people know about it. And yet you're still wearing a watch that's close to $50,000. And yet it screams luxury, it screams knowledge, and it screams a bit of curiosity from your part as well as a consumer. That's one of those watches that should be worth, in my opinion, a lot more, just because it's so unique. And they didn't make that many. I think they made just a few hundred of those. So it's very, very interesting in many, many ways. The last but not the least, for people that don't have the money to buy a high-end watch, will often go for micro brands that look alike, very high-end pieces. I know I'm gonna get again hated for that. A lot of people are gonna tell me, yeah, but this company uses Seiko movements. Yeah, they're Chinese Seiko movements, they're not really the real thing. And I don't want to hate on it, but that's the reality, and it's not a real Japan-made Seiko movement. It's made in China. So it's a replica, it's not a real thing. It will work. It's like a workhorse. It's pretty easy to replicate in China, but it's not the real thing. So don't fool yourselves for that. Next, the micro brands that actually try to make it look like a Pepsi, like a Sub, like everything else out there, that, you know, better wait or better buy a Seiko, you know, or buy Timex, a Casio, anything, you know, all the gold tier watches that are really good for low prices. You can even modify them if you want to modify them. The core is going to remain the same, but yet, you know, it's something that I'd suggest anything like this before buying some kind of replica or wannabe watch of the big brands, okay? If people know that you don't have the money, no one's gonna be impressed by your wannabe watch. Replicas themselves are even worse. You're just gonna waste your money. They usually stop working. I've had them, I tried them, I've wasted $500-$600 a few times in the past just to see how bad or how good they are. And they're mostly bad more than good. A lot of the times people tell me, oh, the movement does look the same. A lot of times what happens is that they have a replica movement basically glued on top of the real movement to make it look alike. Happened to me once that the whole top layer that was glued on the movement just started shaking or moving in the whole watch, and you could see it, and it's just so bad. I tried it, and honestly, most of the time, they're just not good. People tell me replicas are getting so good. I do authenticate watches every week, sometimes up to 4 or 5 watches in a day. So that keeps me busy, and I get to see watches all the time, including Cartier, Rolex, AP, Pateks, and so on. So I open them, I look at them, I see how well they're made, if there's anything that's good or bad on those, and I can make a full report. And I tell you, fake watches are not good. We can spot fake watches by opening them, and within a few seconds we see the quality of the screws, we see the finishing, we see the patterns of how they're made, and the finishing is just horrible. The one brand that I freaking hate, and they're just not stepping up the game, is Cartier with their in-house MC 1847 movements and the Santos extra large, or whatever they're calling them right now, the new ones. They're really horribly finished, okay? I have some really good pictures of how bad they are, and in reality you see the pictures online, you see them in reality, you take the loop. I know they're real, but they should really step up their game to showcase more watchmaking techniques than just hype, okay? They're $10,000-$11,000 Canadian, so something in the $7,000 to $9,000 US. It's just not good enough for this market. That's one of those sidelines which I have to hate on Cartier, although I love Cartier personally, but the price doesn't reflect the quality of their movements, okay? It doesn't mean, again, that it's not a good watch. It just means that the innards of the watch is not top-notch like Grand Seiko, like Rolex, even though Rolex is pretty much well finished, like obviously Patek Philippe, Moser, and so many other brands that are doing an amazing job at finishing the movements for the $10,000 and up type of quality, okay? They're not yet on par with everyone else, yet those watches do look amazing on the wrist. You want to stop that douchebaggery of, of purchases, and you want to stop that trend that you've created for yourself. Please do a bit more research. I'm talking about this on every single one of my videos. You have to be a bit more curious. Stop listening to your friends. Stop listening to TikTok. You have to make your own image. Stop running after the clout, after what everyone else is telling you to buy. You have to make your own proper decisions. Not me, not forcing anything on you, but I see it more and more. People walking in my store and they're all molded in the same piece. That uniformity in the market just makes it very boring for you guys. You're gonna be bored really fast. I see it many times where people buy a watch and 3 months later or 6 months later they sell their watches. They find them really boring. Yet people that actually bought watches from me in the past that are 34 millimeters, 36s, and the Rolexes, you might find super cool, really rare dials. I have a few even right now. You might really get a lot more service from those watches in terms of everyday wear, in terms of compliments from people if you really are looking for that, reciprocity from your purchase to the recognition from people. And you can also buy some really cool, unique pieces that are out there. I've seen people buying really amazing watches, and I respect them for that. They're really going out of the usual trends and what people are looking for right now, and I respect that very, very much. It doesn't mean that it's an investment, it's this or that. It might be down the road. We never know what the market is going to do in the future, but I say if you really want to stand out and not look like an idiot in front of people, I'm not saying that if you're wearing a sub you're an idiot. I'm just saying that if you're just acting like an idiot wearing a sub, you're just emphasizing that image of the douchebag wearing that sub. It just makes it cringe. It makes it just 10 times worse than it really is. Before finishing off, I want to show you a few watches that might be very, very badly seen by people if you're acting differently. Again, I don't have a lot of, let's say, Hublot or other brands right now. I have an AP two-tone. It's on the website if you want to have a look. Have a super cool 30 dial 16613 with sapphires. Some of them are as well with rubies. If you're looking for something in the GMTs, they do come with those as well. Those are super cool watches, and I'm not saying this is an old man's watch. I'm not saying it's a douchebag watch, but if you're acting in the wrong way, you might be seen as a douchebag showing off your new Rolex. Obviously, if you're wearing a two-tone Rolex, it's shiny, it does have diamonds in the sun. Obviously, people are going to see it from miles away, and you're going to get recognized for wearing your Rolex. It is all about your attitude as well. I'm not saying a lot of people are really humble and they're really nice, but if you're acting like that one person, you're going to be attributed more of an image that's not exactly you, or who you don't really want to represent as yourself if you really throw that image. What's cool about vintage Royal Oaks is that they're very slim, they're smaller. Most of the time you're gonna see them in the 33, 35, 36 millimeters. The bigger jumbo ones are a bit big for me personally, but I'd say even a 33 millimeter will wear like a 36 in the Datejust. Even you'll feel a bit of a bigger size than a date. Perfect watch to wear on a daily basis. And the quartz ones are in no way bad shape or form. They're really, really cool to wear. A lot of people want to have that new shiny models, but I'd say for the difference in price, I'd go more for a 5402, either two-tone or even the 5402 stainless steel, compared to the new ones, which are closing in or even are more expensive than the vintage ones. And I'd say the vintage ones, if we're relatively speaking to value, condition, and collectability, and let's say investment, if you want, I'd go for a vintage one 10 times over a new one. It's going to be less shiny, it's going to be better looking, they're a bit slimmer, and they're really nice to wear overall. If you want something in gold, there's a lot of really cool models as well in the APs and the vintage. There's also a lot of them on leather that are really, really interesting. You have a lot of Nautiluses, a lot of Aquanauts out there that are really, really cool as well on rubber or on leather as well. And that's also a very cool way of, let's say, removing some of that recognition from people or that loudness that you want to avoid if you don't want to be attributed that kind of image of the ultimate douchebag with your, very recognizable watch. It is very important to actually be humble. It's not because you have money in this industry that you have to show off your money in any way. And a lot of the people that I know that do have a lot of money are very, very, very low key themselves. In conclusion, there's nothing wrong about the money. You can wear what you want, you can do whatever you want with your money, buy the watches you want. It's all about the image you're also projecting in this industry. Obviously, if you want to create a lot of hate around you, you want to create a lot of jealousy because that's your type of personality, it's up to you, but know the consequences of such an attitude and such an act. The best flex is knowing the watch that you're buying inside and out. A lot of people come to me, and I've seen that in the past, where they ask me questions that I'm not able to answer on the spot. And that impresses me because the guy actually did his homework. I'm going to look with them and I'm going to be able to confirm what they asked me, if it's correct or not. And this is what is impressive about buying a watch. It's about that knowledge that comes with something that you're about to spend on thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on. And it is a consumer's prerequisite, I think, in this industry to actually do a bit of research, and is very, very important. A lot of the times I'm buying watches and I'm very impressed by them. And this is a way of saying don't buy watches to impress, but buy watches because they impress you. I actually posted a watch, I think on Montreal Watch Club, an Omega CK2254. And again, I'm not here to hate. I'm not saying anything bad in any way, shape, or form. But I had a comment saying, hey, with all the respect in the world, I respect the watch. But then he said all sorts of really kind of unnecessary comments about how the watch is not impressing him that much, even though it's from the 1940s, 1941, 1942, something in that range. And for me, it's not as much about being heard because I've heard so many things, but it actually hurts me to see that people, even though they say that they respect it, they actually have no respect for vintage watches that they deserve. The watch is impressive. It impresses me tremendously by its condition, by its shape overall, the way it wears, and so on and so forth. This is the threshold where you're gonna be limiting yourself. I'm not limited, I'm always curious. And even though I'm limiting myself sometimes, I do realize after that I'm in the wrong. And this is how I do advance and I do learn on a daily basis. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. What do you think about the douchebag watch? What do you think about this industry and where it's going right now? In your opinion, what is the most douchebag watch out there? Please comment down below. Also, if you like the video, please subscribe and please like the video. We do want to have more and more videos about watches down the road. And if you do want to see what is in inventory right now, the website is up there. The link is in the description, and please do visit the website. We have a lot of watches incoming next week. I think I have about 15 to 18 watches incoming there, and they're going to be posted soon enough. Thank you guys.